cactus and succulent growers, welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a repotting and a revamping of my old Rhipsalis Pilocarpa plant that is showing signs of being a bit dehydrated, desperate need of a repot and a good old revamp. Now this Rhipsalis Pilocarpa is one of the epiphytic cacti that does love to be kept watered lightly over the winter months. And this is one I used to keep out in the polytunnel in the winter time and give a little bit of water to. But I took it in sort of late summer when I took my other ones in because it's what I wanted to repot, and I thought I'm better off taking it in and keeping it with some of my other epiphytes here on the plant stand in my grow room. But I never got round to repotting it, and I really regret that because although the plant itself is okay, it's not looking its best because I think, oh, must repot that, must repot that. Been watering it and everything, but it hasn't bloomed this winter for me. And this lovely epiphytic Rhipsalis always blooms sort of midsummer, which it did last year, and always in the winter. But although I've been watering it, it's still quite shriveled, the stems, because it has needed to be repotted. So I'm going to show in this video what I'm going to do to give it a bit of a revamp. I first of all have to rehydrate it, and I'm going to show you why when I show you the root ball. And then once I've soaked it, I'm then going to pot it up into a bigger pot here. I've got a hanging basket there with the pot there. I'm going to put it in that, so the next size up, and it's going to really pick up. Now these epiphytic cacti are brilliant, easy-going plants to grow, especially if you don't have a sunny position, because they actually do like to have more shade. You can grow these pretty much like normal house plants. They like to have a bright position, but they don't have to have sunny position, and they can be grown in north-facing windows and they will still flower. That's the brilliant thing with these. And they're lovely trailing plants, totally different in appearance to normal cacti. So they're great to have if you don't want spiny cacti or you've got pets or young children. And they make amazing hanging baskets as well, the way they trail down with their stems. This one, when I first got it, it was just a few clusters of stems. Probably had this about 20 years now. Well, longer than that actually. I'm trying to think when I was, yeah, it has to be about 23 years I think. And it has grown into a lovely hanging basket over time. But it's one you do have to keep regularly repotting and that to make it looking good. And it didn't flower this winter. And I think it's my own fault because I know it needed to be repotted. Now I did start to take it out first because it's in one of these wicker hanging baskets and it's difficult to get out. So I had to cut it out. And I knew it needed repotting. But you wait till you see this, guys. Talk about being root bound. That is very root bound. And it's not a case of just lifting it up and putting it into another pot. I'm going to have to really soak this root ball overnight. And then I can then put it into a bigger pot with fresh soil. Because it is, say every time I give this a really good water, it dries out so fast, and I think I have to repot that for this reason. And you can clearly see with plants, and this is with all plants, when they get very root bound, it's almost like they eat the soil up and you're just left with a load of roots. And it wasn't overly long ago I repotted this, probably 2 years or so, and there was tons of fresh soil and the roots weren't that long. And look at it now, it's completely root bound. So that's why it's been drying out so fast. So I'm going to be making up some lovely fresh epiphytic cactus soil and putting it in there. But before I do that, I'm going to soak this root ball overnight. I don't normally, with normal types of cacti, I don't normally would soak the root ball. But with epiphytic cacti, it's perfectly safe because they're very, very, very different care requirements to desert cacti. So in this case, it's not a case of just potting it up and then giving it a good water. I'm going to have to really soak this, remove all this sort of plastic stuff they put in these hanging baskets to stop the water coming out. So this is what I'm going to be doing with this, giving it a bit of a soak. And then once I've soaked it overnight, I'm then going to be showing you the compost soil I've made and then potting it up. And it's going to really revamp up. So that's what a little job I've got to do tonight and tomorrow morning, but obviously I'm going to include all this into this one video. So I'm just going to turn this round and just have another look at this root ball. Now you can see that very root bound. Oh, this Rhipsalis is going to love a fresh repot. So then what I'm going to do now is fill up this bucket with water, and I'm going to soak the root ball overnight, and that's going to really help the plant to take up a lot of water, because if I was to just pot it up into this next deeper bowl here and then give it a good water, I want to make sure that it's had a really good suck up with the water first. It will help to loosen up the roots as well. I just want to show you, this is a little berry with seeds from last summer's little flowering. That's going to be full of seeds, that. So here we go. This Rhipsalis is going to really pick up. And it makes a difference, because when they can't take up as much as moisture as they should, they do go a little bit stressed here. This red appearance, it looks lovely, and this plant does go very red when it's out in the yard in the spring and summer, because it gets plenty of sun. As I say, they do like to have more shade, but they can take sun as well, and they go a little bit red. But they also go red when they show signs of stress. This is with a lot of cacti that aren't meant to be red. So this is a pure stress signal. When I saw this is a sign it needs more moisture. And they also like more humidity as well, the Rhipsalis. These here on here, I've got Rhipsalis and some epiphyllums all on here. I always give them a bit of a spray with rainwater at least every couple of days, because they do like that humidity. And in the winter time, when you're having the heated on a lot, then the air does get a lot drier than what it normally would. As I say, they're rainforest cacti, they're not desert cacti. So then let's give this boy a good soaking. Oh, lovely. It's going to have a lovely big drink tonight, soaking up all that water. And I'm going to leave this overnight, and then in the morning then I'm going to pot it up into the pot. So sweet dreams, Rhipsalis, and drink up. Now then, I've let it soak overnight, and here I've made up some epiphytic cactus soil, and I've used peat, John Innes #2, and with some perlite and a bit of sand. And I use Irish peat, pure peat, with Clover brand of John Innes #2 and some perlite. Completely different soil that I would use than I use for desert cacti, because it has to be epiphytic, more moisture retaining, and I just put a bit of sand in. So that's how I sort of make up my epiphytic cactus mix. And now here we go then. Now I'm going to lift this guy up, and I've soaked it overnight, and you can tell already how much this has plumped up. As you can see, last night when I put this into the water, it was very shriveled, but this has fattened up already, the stem, so this is really great. So what I'm going to be doing now is putting this into the hanging basket. Now I've made the soil, and I have got the hanging basket here, Rhipsalis Pilocarpa. So I'm going to be putting some soil in first into the bottom before I lift it up. So that lovely soil, fresh. And this Rhipsalis Pilocarpa, as I mentioned, is going to love all this new soil here. Make sure there's plenty at the base here. Lovely, so a good few inches at the bottom there. And we're lifting this guy up, placing it in, making sure all the hanging stems are all at the sides outside of the pot, so they're not going to get crushed underneath. It's brilliant. Wow. I want to make sure then I fill all these sides up with the fresh soil all around. Pressing it gently down, turning it around, lifting up its hair. So they say this loose type of soil is very different, as I mentioned, to desert cactus soil that would be more gritty and sandy. This is lovely, loose, airy soil, epiphytic soil. And it's always important if you're using peat type of soil that it's as much environmentally friendly as possible. I don't particularly like to use peat for that reason, but the peat we get here, it's Clover brand. They have an environmental thing that it's taken from Irish bogs. That is peat bogs. That is not harming the environment. Or so they say anyway. So, here. Putting this up. All down the edges. And this is going to really do well now. It's all been had its root system thoroughly soaked overnight and all this fresh soil. And I'm going to be watering this after. Normally with desert cacti I don't water for at least a week to 10 days, regardless of the time of year. With epiphytic cacti, as long as you haven't disturbed the roots too much, it'll be absolutely fine. So give this a tap. There we go, all done. And as I say, giving it a good tap to make sure the soil has gone down the sides. Little label, Rhipsalis Pilocarpa. And then I'm going to be giving this a bit more watering now, just to dampen up the soil, because it needs to plump itself up. As you say, just soaking it overnight has really helped, and that's going to love that new soil there. And then I'm going to be putting this into a bit of a shadier position, keeping it in here probably for the rest of the winter now. Almost spring, I should say, then it'd be going back out to enjoy the spring. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Do give this video a like. Do subscribe if you haven't done already, and click the notification bell. And check out my website for lots of growing tips on how to grow many different types of cacti and succulents. desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all an absolutely fantastic plant-powered day. Thank you for repotting me.